Hey everyone, so I wanted to do a video while I was getting ready. I wanted to start off by saying that I have all this equipment back in DC for filmmaking because I was a freelance filmmaker and photographer. I, in college, was pursuing editing, and so when I came out to LA, I knew that I was only going to be doing editing work, and I did not bring any of my equipment, so it's unfortunate now because I have time to start making YouTube videos, but I don't have my mic or my nice cameras or anything. But that's okay, so I'm using my phone right now and we're just gonna go with it. So today my video is going to be the 5 things I wish I knew before moving to LA. And some of these things are things I knew, but I wish more people knew about these things, or I wish it was talked about more. And some of them are pretty obvious, but just thought I would talk about them today. So the first one, and this is the biggest one in my opinion, is that you should live where you want to live, not where your work is. And this really only pertains to people who are in the entertainment industry, but it's important to know that in our field, your office is going to move around a lot because you're not living or you're not working in the same production every time, unless you work for the studio or in-house. But many of our jobs are contract jobs, so we are just there for run of project for a TV show or a film. So, for example, I decided to live in Glendale because this is a neighborhood that I absolutely love in LA, and I have family who live here, so I knew that it was a place I really liked and has a nice shopping center. It's quiet, it's in the valley, but it's still accessible to a lot of places in the US in Los Angeles. So I'm really glad I chose this place because my first job out after my internship in LA was in Santa Clarita, and that is 30 miles north, so it is super far, but not far enough where it was unbearable. I didn't mind it at all. And then our office moved to the west side of LA, so it was basically the same distance for me to get down there. I was still having to commute and take the time to cross LA, and then the pandemic hit, so I ended up working from home, which was really nice. I didn't have to make that commute, but that was just something to keep in mind about where you want to live. And also I was a PA, so as a PA, you're still going to be driving around everywhere, so in the end, it doesn't really matter where you live because when you're starting out in the industry anyway, you're often going to be a runner, so you can also, if your team is nice, plan out your runs so that you can start from home or you can end your day closer to home. So that was really special, or really helpful. Okay, so the next thing is that Hollywood is not what you think it is. So growing up, I always wanted to live in Hollywood. Well, I didn't want to live there. I always dreamed of going to Hollywood because you think of it as a place where all the stars are, you can see all these famous people, and that was the hub of the industry. But it turns out that the hub of the industry, from what I've seen, is more actually in the valley, like Burbank, Glendale, Studio City. And then obviously there are production companies in West LA, or close to Hollywood, because Paramount is close to Hollywood. Showtime is West Hollywood, and Fox is Century City. But just because the production company's there doesn't mean you're going to be working at the production company. You might if you are taking on a studio job, and so you would maybe go to Burbank to work at the studio, but my jobs are in post-production, and those offices are wherever the people working at the production choose to put you. So wherever I worked was a private office, separate from the studio. So I was working at like Sherman Oaks and then Santa Clarita. I worked in Santa Monica and then like Sawtelle, so all over the place throughout the 3 shows I worked at. So the next thing to keep in mind, but I didn't even talk about what I was saying about Hollywood. So there's that, but also, yeah, Hollywood isn't as special as it is thought of. When people visit LA, they want to see Hollywood because they think that, like I said, that is like the bright, shiny lights and the stars and everything, but it's pretty dirty and it's kind of sketchy. No one really wants to live there, but it can be cheaper, so that's always good. But I just think of Hollywood as like the center of LA, and then all the like really great places that you can live or visit are like around there. Like really, if guests are coming to LA, you should take them to West Hollywood, Santa Monica or Malibu, or any of the beaches south like Venice. You don't have to take them to the Valley, but Silver Lake's a fun place where you can take them to. So really the better places are around Hollywood. Okay, the next one is about prices. So for me, I'm from DC, so a lot of the prices are very similar, and that is really great because I came from a place where I already understood the cost of living. Okay, it's really hard to do this while I'm talking, so just 1 second. So yeah, I know that rent is almost similar depending on where you live in DC, and it could be more even, but it's about, I would say, for a 2-bedroom, it's very similar. It could be like $2,800 to $3,200 in both LA and DC, from what I've seen from the prices online. Similarly, food can be about $15 for a meal, just like a casual food place. Drinks can be, I don't know, between $10 to $15 also. And yeah, just like remembering to budget for that, especially if you come from somewhere where things are cheaper, like the South or the Midwest. The good thing is that when you work in LA, they've already priced in the cost of living into your wage. So basically in the entertainment industry, even though you start off with minimum wage, it's still a higher minimum wage than a lot of places in the US, as long as you're working at a company that takes LA minimum wage. Another thing also about working in the entertainment industry, at least where I've been working, is if you're a PA, you actually get paid per 60 hours a week, not per 40. So that's really great because even though you're working minimum wage, you're getting paid for 60 hours guaranteed. And again, I'm not sure if that's with everywhere, but as a post PA, that's what I got, and that's what I've heard it is standardized for PA jobs. Yeah, so it ends up totaling to a similar amount as if you were to work 40 hours a week for like a higher paying gig somewhere. So that's pretty great, and then your wages just go up from there, and I think minimum wage just increased for starting this July, so that's awesome too. So yeah, just remembering that if you live in DC or New York or California, your minimum wage is about the same and your cost of living is about the same, but anywhere else you want to factor that in, which is brings up another point that you should budget before coming out to LA about 3 to 6 months of your needed income, and that's with anything. You want to budget that amount of money for having an emergency fund in general. So if that's the case, then I guess you might want to budget out like 9 months of income just in case. In my head, my needed income is $2,000 a month. So that's factoring in rent, utilities, food, gas, and a little money for like fun money. So yeah, so just make sure that you're accounting for that, because it leads into my next piece of advice, which is that it can be very hard to get a job moving out to LA before you've moved here. Like, it's actually better if you move out first and then apply and look for jobs, because companies that are hiring want someone who can start immediately often. So that means that you need to be able to prove that you live here, like on your resume or in your application, saying, like, giving an address that's in this area, that's in LA, is really great. The only way that you can get a job before moving out here, which is the route I went, is, well, there are other ways too. Sometimes jobs will hire, but for a lot of instances, you can do it through an internship or a fellowship, because I applied while I was still in college in DC and I got accepted, so I got to move out knowing that I had something secured. And then once I moved out here and was out here for 2 months living in an Airbnb for my internship, I looked for apartments, I bought a car, and I job hunted. So I ended up doing a lot of my big purchases out here, so that when I moved out I didn't have to buy all those things or drive out here or ship my car out here. So that's another thing. But yeah, just, oh my goodness, this is really hard to like do my makeup and talk. Just knowing that you might have to move out before you have a secured job is not the end of the world, because there are temp positions. If you are eligible, you can apply for unemployment. You can apply for part-time jobs or like retail or food service jobs, but even in LA, or especially in LA, that can be hard, because they even want people who are committed to that kind of job. Like if you tell them like, I'm doing this as a temp position so that I can make money while I'm looking for other jobs in the industry, they might not hire you. They want someone who will commit to their job as if like working in retail or food is what you want to do your whole life. But you just have to kind of act like that during the interview or the application, which is what I heard. I didn't do that. Like, I've never worked in retail or food, but that is what I've heard. So yeah, there is that. You can always look for like a babysitting or nannying job out here too, which is really lucrative because there are a lot of people who are willing to pay the money for that. Although right now during the pandemic it might be harder because people don't want to have strangers in their homes probably. My next piece of advice, which is my last one, which is kind of dumb. Like, I couldn't think of a fifth one that was really good, but the last one is that it does get cold out here. It obviously does not get as cold as other places in the US, which I'm very thankful for. That is one big reason I moved out here. But it does get cold at night, so you want to be prepared to have some clothes that are good for colder climates. Like, I always carry a sweater now at night, or I put in my car or something when I'm going out, just because you never know, like, it could get too cold when you want to just like have fun and then you're freezing and now you have to go home. But the weather is awesome. Like right now it's July, so it's like 90s in LA, or at least in the valley, which is really hot, but it's a dry heat and it's not like DC where it's so humid, so I love it so much more. If you go to the coastline, it is more humid because you're by the beach, so I don't love that feeling. Like, it feels really like sticky to me. It's still just really nice in general in LA in comparison to a lot of other climates. But along the lines of it being cold, in some, like at night, it also can get cold just outside of LA. So I've gone on some weekend trips to, oh my goodness, this is really hard to do both at once. Weekend trips to like Joshua Tree or Sequoia and like different places nearby. And they can get cold. I mean, they can also get really hot, but that's because you're in the desert or the mountains and you're just like, you're far enough away where that there's a difference in climate. Also the altitude change helps that happen. So if you are missing your colder climate places, you could just drive a few hours away and have a nice weekend getaway, and it's awesome that you can do that in LA. Because in DC, if you want to go to the beach, it was like 3 or 4 hours away, and it was a trek. Like, you would have to pay to stay the night, and yeah. But here the beach can be, depending on where you live, at most like maybe an hour away, but it's really not that bad at all. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, and this relates to the very first point, was that when you move out here, and you most likely will get a car or have a car, because it's hard to live here without a car. You can use public transportation if you are near where you're working, or you just figure it out. I never really took the time to figure out public transportation here, but everything's about 30 minutes away, which is an interesting revelation, because like just knowing that, like, it obviously changes, but like for me to get to Hollywood, maybe like 15 to 20 minutes. For me to get to West LA could be 25 to 35 minutes. Yeah, I mean right now, well no, there's still a lot of traffic right now because people are back traveling, but it was like really, really empty in the beginning of quarantine. So yeah, there's that. Just a lot, enough time for you to get places and know that no matter where you go, it's gonna be kind of a trek. But it's worth it. Like, I don't mind driving a little bit, except gas can get expensive. Oh yeah, so I just keep adding things. So yeah, you should look for cheap gas. You don't always have to just like pay for the expensive gas that you see in West LA or Hollywood. Like, I actually like to get my gas near where I live because it can be really cheap, especially Arco, which I don't think they have in DC at least. So knowing that I don't have to go to an Exxon or a Shell is really helpful, because the gas is like way cheaper. So I like to go to Arco. Whenever I was commuting up to Santa Clarita for work, their gas there was super cheap, so that was really a great perk of that too. But yeah, just like search for the cheap things if you're on a budget. Yeah, there was ways to live out here where you don't have to break the bank, even though it is expensive. Everything kind of evens itself out, like I said before. Like, things are expensive, but you're getting paid to be able to afford it. Obviously, it would be great if minimum wage were higher, because cost of living and wages do not match these days. I know they're working on it, but it's still a process and it still needs improvement. That's all there is to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and oh my goodness, I have allergies. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at music2myears5. Hey guys, I'm back just to let you know that yeah, I couldn't do my eyebrows or my eyeliner during the video because it's so hard to do them and talk at the same time. So I just finished them, and I realized I didn't show you guys what I was using for my makeup, if any of you watching care at all. But I'm just gonna quickly scan through and let you know, so that yeah, you can get like a better sense of what I was using in case you care to buy it as well. So first I used the Aquifer for my lips and under my nose, and places that get like dry on my skin. Next, I use the Neutrogena Clear Face because you need to be wearing sunscreen all the time on your face, and I always do that. I have for a long time. It's just really good. And I also kind of use it as a primer. So then I have been using this lately, this L'Oreal Infallible foundation. I thought it was going to be too light, but it actually works really well, I think. And yeah, I love that coverage. This is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind, because I'm getting old, I guess. So that is great concealer, and then I use the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder just to make everything look finished. I use this e.l.f. bronzer, which I don't like because it's a little too orange for my skin, but I have to use it because I paid for it. And then I like to put on first the Benefit highlighter, and then for some reason I decide to put on my blush. This is all cracked and gross, and I didn't love the coverage of this blush. Where is my hand going? This angle. I didn't love the coverage, but at first, and then I realized I actually really did. So I've been using that up until its dying days. And then I like to use the Glossier Night Shine, which everyone talks about, and I love it. I feel like you don't have to use What's Up because for some reason I put highlighter, blush, more highlighter. You could just use like this amazing Glossier. And then we've got the NYX Professional Lip Pencil. Love that. And then the Maybelline, I love Maybelline, I guess. The Maybelline, I don't know what this is, lipstick that stays on forever, matte, it's really good. And then this, I would use any eyeshadow that is in like gold palette. So this is Shein that I really like, just because it was cheap. I'm using this Tarte Mascara again. Mascara is one where I like change up what I'm using a lot because I got this for free for my birthday from Ulta, but I can use all different kinds of mascaras. Yeah. I stand by this Urban Decay 24/7 eyeliner. I used to use drugstore eyeliner, and I do love drugstore makeup, but I do splurge on my under eyeliner because it doesn't smudge like others do. Then I also stand by this brow pencil from H2o Cosmetics, which is a new like K-beauty brand. They only sell it at some CVS's, which is unfortunate, so I have to like travel distances to get it, but it's worth it for me because it's like a more creamy feeling and my skin is really dry, so it just works a lot better for me. And then I use like different eyeliners, so I have this Revlon Color Stay eyeliner, and then I use right now this e.l.f. H2o Proof Eyeliner Pen. I like to use the pens because it's easier to maneuver on your eye for that winged look. But I switch up brands of a lot of these things, honestly, because I just look for the good deals that also have good reviews online. So yeah, that's that. Thank you. Bye.